It is bright in the studio today, hence my pinhole glasses to deflect the light a little bit. There is a fatalism. There is a level of capitulation that I sense of the very few people on YouTube that I listen to. There's a slight sense of capitulation and a type of fatalism that is coming in. And I think this is actually on some level, a very positive thing that I see. And I'm going to link below a rather lengthy, much too long dissertation by a fellow I've referred to a couple of times. He calls himself Quantum of Conscience. Now, I've liked his channel from the get because he uses a word that I appreciate, a word that represents something in my own nature that I have been developing over my lifespan, not fast enough, but it has occurred, especially in the last 5-10 years, that is called conscience. And Quantum of Conscience, he has this weird icon, this sort of freaky looking icon, but I like the fact he called it Quantum of Conscience, and I'm going to link a dissertation he did down below on what he considers to be the matrix, how we're trapped in a reality that we can't seem to get out of. And what you find, what I find, and I call it slim pickings, Yahoo! On the bomb, going down on his target, slim pickings on YouTube these days, because what he has identified, I believe to be, I'm very comfortable with his entire dissertation. I have some reserves about it. He could have done it faster. He kept me going, but that's okay because I'm working in the background and I listen, and anyway, I commented on his video. I'm going to link it. And he expressed a level of frustration. And I would even say that there is a degree, a sensibility that feels to me like a hurt sensation that we are confronted with the situation that we're in at this moment in time. And there are so many aspects to this, what I see as an attack on life itself. And how true is this? People come out and say these events that occur around us are merely hoaxes. Well, I beg to differ from the point of view that the suffering has escalated dramatically over the last century. And you can see this in what are those conflicts, those external conflicts that happen all around us. And in the last 30, 40 years, there have been more wars than in the entire history of war keeping. Or history is essentially a documentation of all the wars that have happened. That's basically it, the suffering. History reminds us of suffering. And when even we look at great art, it always is infused with this sense of suffering. So we're always tied into a physical world through the suffering. And Quantum Matt calls it the meat bag. It's a bag of blood. We exist metaphorically and actually quite truly in a bag of blood. We contain a bunch of liquids. We are mostly liquid, and we are a bag that contains the liquids. And there are many different, what I realized recently, there are about 250 types of liquids within us, from blood to the lymph and to the tear ducts, and all those different fluids are actually quite complex and have to be in balance. Anyway, that's another dissertation. So I'm referring to this fellow because, as I say, slim pickings on YouTube, but he is actually quite prescient in his observations and understanding. And he's attempting to encapsulate something that is afflicting people that have resolved their own lives to be able to perceive what is actually going on. And there is always a degree of doubt about the nature of this reality, what it is that we're actually existing in, and to just accept the dogma of the guys, mostly the guys, the women are involved too, but 95% of the guys that are giving us the good news. No news is good news. Remember, the guys in white coats create dogma in order to capture an audience, and most of it has to do with suffering, hurt, pain, fear, whatever inventions they come up with. As I said in my last dissertation on Da Vinci, he was a designer of weapons of mass destruction for the Count of Milano for 18 years in Florence. No, not Florence, up there, Milano. Yes, Milano. So what we have, what this intelligence has given us, is an incredible amount of suffering, hostility, and a level of hurt that is now reaching, I think, actually a plateau. And the controllers, the people that are in our that keep us in their headlights, have actually now come to a level. They have escalated this, even though we're not perceiving it around us directly. If you're living in a developed country in Europe or in North America and many other countries still, we're not really that close to this level of, it's actually an attack, a severe attack on the most fundamental, basic level of our notions of being alive and existing on this planet, to the point where I've said it's an extermination. And Fukushima, as I bring up over and over, something that quantum of conscience has not connected to understanding that this is an epic event which has never occurred in the history of our existence on this planet, will probably never occur again. It's a kind of time wave zero event, as McKenna might refer to, that has never occurred and now is creating a level of dysfunction within especially people that are, as I say, mindful, reflect, that have a conscience, that actually exist on a level of caring. This is creating a level of fatalism through the feeling of hurt. How could this happen? How could this be? Now, generally speaking, people don't relate to this in terms of their own lives, and this is where the problem is. And I think this Matt fellow has, in my observation, he is actually coming very close. He can't spill it out. He can't quite spill it out, but he releases it in bits and pieces in his video. It's too long, but what I perceive, what I take courage, or what I take, what I admire, is his ability to recognize the most fundamental, simple fact. And he refers to his connection to the animals he has. He says he's a recluse. I understand this. I'm by myself most of the time. I don't talk to many people, and he has a couple of cats in his environment. I had a studio cat for 10 years, and what he recognized was his connection to the animals, on whatever level that is, based on a fundamental caring, an observation of the right for this creature to be whatever it wants to be, whatever it is, whatever this existence has presented to us. We're given clues all the time through our own selves. That which has been denied by this culture of death, we are not allowed to feel what we want to feel through our entire history of coming through this, and we just become actors on a stage to what I find really fascinating in this Matt fellow. I think he's identified a fundamental battle that we have with the idea of not existing or dying. And dying and existence are two different things. Just because the notion of death, and he brings this up in terms of spirit and how to heal the spirit or grow the spirit, the notion of death does not mean we, as I have commented on eternity, does not deny eternity. I find myself attached. As I say, I have a romance with the idea of eternity because there is an aspect to me which is not just physical, which is something he addresses. Now, the reason I'm talking about this, and this I feel is the transitioning that has happened in my own life and what I see in other people when I talk to them, when I perceive others to have this clarity, this insight, whether it's verbal or whether it's through their actions and intuitively, that the only way we can overcome what it is that we're facing in this reality, and whether or not, as he says, we're always drawn back into this if we have levels of fear and anger and all those emotions that keep us down in the lower part of ourselves, not rising up into our mindfulness. We're forced to come back like the reincarnation guys and all that. Well, you can have your explanations of what that means. I don't subscribe to that. Suffice it to say, I can go into my view of this, and I am quite convinced that there is such a thing as I will raise this metaphor from the Bible called the wine press, and that is these souls are squished into a mush, into an eternity mush that is of no individuation. That which I feel myself when I say I, that which is the I will be eliminated. That's how I think it works. So our effort at this time and the recycling of souls, you can take a position and say, yeah, we come back and we do it over and over and over again. And there are elements within this existence that try to keep us in their headlights. What I always say is their story, not our story. So here's my synopsis on this. I think it's worthwhile listening to this to this fellow's video. It's a fabulous video from the point of view that he goes through exposing the bastards, but sees it also as a way of transcending. And he has this peculiar animosity towards life as we understand it, which is incongruous in my mind, because it's amazing. If he can feel towards his cat the way he feels and say, well, I'm happy to get out of here and kiss off, there is a dysfunctional way of thinking here. It doesn't make sense. The attachment that we have to this existence does not mean we don't grow in this aspect of eternity, and we're kind of, like he calls it, a prison planet. This is a fundamental notion of the hurt and the giving up part of it. I don't subscribe to this. This is a very dangerous position, I think, to have as well. And I really feel it's important in my own growth and understanding of coming through what it is that we're going through with this epic destruction now, having ratcheted up to the point where all of life is under threat through what has the white coats have brought us. These brilliant minds have invented a technology that literally could destroy all life on this planet, and is actually actively happening to the point where this quantum of conscience fellow hasn't even recognized where the biggest threat is coming from. And people can dance on their pin of methane and other Armageddons and the chemical pollution, all this. The jewel in the crown is the nuclear monster that is breathing down our neck. Now, whether or not we have a responsibility, this is something each person needs to decide. What is your responsibility having this understanding? And I harp and I come back to this because this is an incredible test of our resilience as life forms, fundamentally committed to this existence from the point of view of life. What is our resolve in order to understand and incorporate this without giving up? And you hear me saying giving up. I sense a fatalism in this person, and I wish him the best. I want him to get through this, because we need all the people that are capable still of invoking their hearts, their caring, to actually try. And I say try from the point of view that, is it lost? Is it not lost? I don't know. But we need to make an effort to overcome this period in our existence, which has never happened before. This is epic, people. I understand this to be incredibly epic. What we are facing now, we have never faced, and very likely will never face again. In the sense, it's not just you and me, it's all of life. It's all of life. So to say, well, I don't want to come back to this prison planet, is not understanding the actual challenge that we face as primarily individuals. And the collective is a whole other story, which I find this, okay, I'll end it here again. I am convinced that as people, as Matt has done, functions on a level of caring from the most simplest experience that we might have on a day-to-day level, whether you see the plants or your vegetables in your window over the winter months when there's nothing growing and you have tomatoes on your windowsill, whatever the level of caring that you can bring into your life, whether it's through the caring for others, people, animals, all life on this planet, this will start to generate the resistance to this sick, disgusting, horrible manifestation. I call it the culture of death. I call it the culture of death. This has so much encapsulated our imagination. You look at these these performers, like on this, I watched the Super Bowl for a while and the halftime show, this guy hopping around. What a brutal manifestation of entertainment. There was virtually no entertainment value in this person jumping around, pretending to be, I guess he's a Timberlake guy, some icon of some kind, not even the level of Jackson, so they have to invoke Prince in his purple. Prince comes out in purple to make the whole thing work or something. Again, the symbology that Matt goes into beautifully. He doesn't talk about this, but it's there. So anyway, this is again, I have to talk about this because I feel the level of hurt, frustration, where people will say, okay, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Or if I can choose just to check out of here and say, fuck you, everything is taken care of. No, it doesn't work this way. Matt, it doesn't work that way. The responsibility we have, it's on our watch. It's on our watch. We don't check out of here and get a free ride in eternity. That's not, and he seems to understand that the soul needs to actually enter this experience when we die, whatever that might be, with so much strength and positivity, which is grounded in what it is that we do when we're here right now. We got to become better as people. I keep saying it, and that's how it works. It's how it works. Become better as a person.